All right, it's been asked for again. We're doing a Kess Dissident Mage, awesome deck volume 1 deck tech. And like any good control deck, you start with stuff that helps protect you. First, we have stuff that makes it so it's much harder to attack you. Then we have classic counter spells, followed by some targeted removal, and then board wipes from Cyclonic Rift to All is Dust, which is really important because you can't get rid of enchantments unless you're using stuff like All is Dust. So continuing the removal train, this deck actually takes advantage of the ability for Kess to recast adventure spells from her graveyard for the instant side and then be able to replace the creature to loop them. So it definitely has some more removal spells with stuff like Brazen Bar, Murder Shredder, and Bone Crusher, and then using High Market and Phyrexian Tower and other sack-outs to sack them, but it also uses Merchant of the Veil as both a loot creature as well as a win condition. The way Kess uses Merchant of the Veil along with Den of the Bugbear and Epic Experiment to win is by making infinite red mana. It does this by using Mana Geyser and Jessica's Will to create at least 6 or more mana, and then using Buyback on Reiterate to bounce that back and continuing copying that spell, making an infinite red mana, and then using any one of these spells to be able to use that infinite red mana to win the game. If you're using Merchant of the Veil or Epic Experiment to do so, you need a Thassa's Oracle to eventually go into play to be able to win that way. One way you're able to do that is using Reanimator spells. Specifically, Reanimate lets you do it, or Grave Upheaval if you mill it with Epic Experiment. Some other major win conditions of the deck are stuff like 1,000-Year Storm, looping all the cards in your deck, eventually creating a massive storm effect, Nib Mizzet taking advantage of all the spells and cards you're drawing, or Aetherflux Reservoir just playing that normal storm game. For less combo finish, this deck ends up putting a lot of instants and sorceries in your graveyard, so Root Catcher's Pike makes Kess into a massive threat, being able to kill people with commander damage, and Rise from the Tide just makes a ton of zombies be able to attack people as well. There are also a few ways to loop Time Warp, not infinitely, but enough times that you get a pretty decent amount of extra turns off of it. For me, I personally like playing with a lot of redundancy, so I have a bunch of different options from Mission Briefing to Snapcaster Mage to Torrential Gearhulk to the new additions of Lear Disciple of the Drowned and Jace Fringe Prodigy. Plus, with Deadeye Navigator, you're able actually to bounce Kess, so every single time you pay 2 mana to bounce Kess back into play, you're able to cast a new spell from your graveyard. So what are we buying with Kess? Well, first off, just every cantrip under the sun. We also are playing with a bunch of the best tutors in these colors, allowing you with Kess basically to find any 2-card combo with them in play, casting it twice. We also have some fun spells like Factor, Fiction, Frantic Search, and Desolate White House that lets you kind of loot and get cards in your graveyard while finding spells. And then some of my favorites like Mystic Remore and then Ignite to the Future, which because you can cast it for its regular casting cost from your graveyard, you get the flashback effect for free. There's also a cool ramp package that takes advantage of all the spells you're casting, as well as some rituals that let you rebuy them with Kess, which also lets you generate a lot of mana really quickly. And then just 34 lands. I have a deck of every color combo, so let me know which color combo you want me to do a deck tech of next.